Coach Alex, aka Oleg Ochocki. First of all, Coach, let's start with that. Clarify for us the difference between how your first name or which first name is used.
Okay, so my real name is Alexander or Alex, but everybody in the fencing world calls me Oleg because so my parents are Polish, and the club where I started out, it was basically majority of people were Polish, and we had like 3 or 4 Alexes, and I was the youngest one, so I got the nickname. And
not a whole lot you can say is
yeah, and I mean it's just it's a nickname for Alexander. It's for short, and it kind of stuck with me basically my whole life. Even in college, it kind of confused people because some people were calling me Alex because that's how I introduced myself, and yet the fencers or people involved with fencing are calling me Oleg, so it kind of caused a big kind of confusion. So in the fencing world, they call me Oleg.
Now tell us about college. You fenced for Penn State. You're 2-time national champion there. Let's go back to those days and relive them here. What did you feel was the greatest contributor to your success at the NCAA level?
Ooh, it's a tough one. Well, obviously my college coach, Wes Glahn, had a lot to do with it just because I worked with him every day. I think I come from a pretty good kind of foundation with my coach being Yuri Gelman, and it was just kind of a unique situation where we can build and create, kind of do different actions, different things. Wes as well was an Olympic coach for the U.S., so it was kind of an interesting feel, and I've known Wes since I was a young kid, so it was really fun kind of just creating honestly sometimes ridiculous things that we were doing, but it kind of helped work. But I think a lot had to do with the strong foundation I had.
The ridiculous things, ridiculous in that they were unorthodox or just incredibly challenging?
Both. So there were days where literally he would just run me forward, up and down the strip, because he thought I was out of shape. So literally the lesson was running back and forth. That was pretty crazy.
And then were these killers or were these actually
No, they were footwork.
Okay.
They were a lesson of just running and basically trying to save my life to parry from him just smacking me across the chest. But it made me move and it made me work. So things like that. So it was just different kind of methods that I wasn't used to. Yeah, basically that.
And do you credit your footwork as kind of one of the pillars of your success, or was it more your actions and tactics?
So I'd say early on in my career, I was definitely one of the more athletic fencers, playing other sports, football, lacrosse, soccer. But I kind of went through a tough path because I had before I went to college though, I had 2 knee surgeries. So that kind of affected my athleticism, my game. So I wouldn't say my footwork was actually my strength. I'd say kind of my feeling and my actions, like my setups and the way the actions I chose on the strip, I think were what made me successful. And like I said, from a strong foundation from Yuri and the way strategy and tactics, the way he taught me, I think that was basically my most important asset.
Now 2 knee surgeries before college.
Yes.
2 knee surgeries over the course of a career is rare for a fencer. It's rare for an NFL player. Fill us in.
Okay, so those first 2 knee surgeries were actually, I guess, minor compared to my last one.
Were they scoping like MCL issues?
No, it was all cartilage. So medial and lateral meniscus. I chipped kind of a piece of my bone in my tibia just because of the lack of cartilage there while I was in college. So those were 2 knee surgeries. Then I guess it was my last season as an athlete on the senior level when I was on the national team. Right before, actually the day I was leaving for World Championships in Budapest in 2013, the doctor told me basically I needed surgery when I get back because I shredded all my cartilage behind my kneecap. So every time I bent my knee, it was just bone on bone rubbing, and that caused a lot of pain. I think they called it a osteochondral lesion to be exact, but that was actually a 2-part procedure. So the first time they opened me up, they cleaned everything, they measured all the sizes of my kneecap and my patella, and then I had to play the waiting game because they needed a match. So they got a match from a gentleman who passed away in a skiing accident actually in Colorado, and they flew it in overnight. So I found out I was having surgery within like 24 hours when they got the match.
This is like a knee transplant.
Basically, it was like a cartilage transplant in my knee, yes.
Wow. Now, like how much did that pain affect you or impact your fencing?
It basically affected my change of direction. So when I would want to switch from going forward to backwards, my knee would kind of give at a certain degree, and it would take me longer to kind of push off and change direction. So that's basically why. First of all, I had no cartilage, but I really needed the surgery in terms to continue. And I came back. I actually came back from the surgery. Took me a long time, and then I won my second tournament back, which was at the Div 1 NAC or July NAC or whatever in Columbus. So for me, that was probably the highlight of my career. I mean, I've obviously had more important wins, but that one was the most special to me because of what I came back in. I beat some pretty good people, some young kids that, the week before, I beat Eli Dershowitz in the final, and the week before, he won Pan Am's, senior Pan Am's. So, or zonals, whatever you want to call it. So for me, that was a big deal, and I actually still joke with him every day that I'm the last person in the U.S. to beat him at a NAC. So I'll never let him forget that. But he's a great kid, and he's doing amazing right now, getting ready for the Olympics. So I rub it in his face every time.
Rightfully so. You gotta take advantage of that. Now, talking about Eli Dershowitz, obviously at Harvard, taking a year off for Rio, as you mentioned. On the college scene, being a PSU guy, Penn State was surpassed this year by Columbia claiming its 14th title, Penn State, I think, having 13. What are your predictions for March?
Well, actually, Penn State has 16, if you want it.
Once
it was women's and men's separate, but we won't get into that. But no, Columbia has a very strong team, and I think the culture at Columbia right now and New York City is really attracting everybody there. Obviously, the top fencers are looking for IVs, and rightfully so. I mean, great school. And I think Mike is doing a great job over there with the culture and building a solid team all the way around. They're like 5-6 people deep in every weapon, which is a great thing. But predictions for March, it's going to be a tough one. It's kind of too early to tell right now. If we're going to talk team, Columbia is definitely a favorite. I'd say Notre Dame is up there, and I can't rule out Penn State. I mean, sometimes we're not the best team on paper, but when it comes down to it, that winning mentality, when the pressure is on, I just can't explain it. I really can't. It just works. My sophomore year when we were there, on paper we weren't the best team, and people just stepped up in places. Nick Chinman switched from foil to epee, and it just worked. It just worked. So I can't rule out Penn State. I mean, they're hungry and they always come ready to fight.
All right, and Penn State, I believe, was the last team to repeat, I think, go back to back. So
actually, yeah, that was when I was there.
Yeah.
When I was there, yeah.
So they could prevent Columbia from also breaking that record. So anyway, Coach, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing the result of the predictions in March.
Awesome, we'll see.